Hello everyone, and welcome to the second installment of the Tweak series. This episode will be about the element of fear in FPS RPG hybrids, which, if you know me, that means Fallout and The Elder Scrolls. People sometimes ask why I only talk about those two. It's because those are the two franchises that I'm the most familiar with. I fucking love Fallout. NPCs will react differently to various fear-inducing events, and we're going to talk about the differences between the two today. Also, one thing that I want to mention is that we'll be talking about optional fears, or in other words, only instances where the player can decide to make the NPCs fearful of him or her. No non-optional fears, such as linear dialogue sequences or events where the player doesn't get the option to decide. First up, Fallout New Vegas. Typically, when fighting humanoid NPCs, they'll attempt to run away when they're crippled, or if their health drops to half or below. If they get away for long enough, they'll heal up with a stim pack or consumable item in their inventory, and then they will resume their attack. This tells me that they actually aren't scared of you. No matter how much damage you deal to them, they seem to only leave the battle to heal up and then come back and give it another try. So can the fear factor ever be great enough to scare them off permanently? Unfortunately, no. However, some NPCs will stay away for the most part, and those people are the gamblers on the strip who aren't armed, so they don't have a choice but to run away and stay away. Other ways of using the fear tactic is through dialogue choices. An example being that if you have a strength of X or more, you can scare off people who are trying to intimidate you. Another example is a perk called Terrifying Presence, which allows the access to dialogue choices that are intended to send foes running away out of being, well, as the perk says, terrified. Only that's not exactly what happens. See, if they were actually afraid and were trying to escape the area unharmed from some terrifying entity, they wouldn't be slowly walking backwards while shooting at you. That's just not how it works when you're trying to flee unharmed. And that's it. That's all there is for Fallout. And what about Skyrim, you ask? It's very close to the same thing, except there's only one specific attribute requirement for dialogue in order to intimidate people, and that's the speech skill. Also, in Skyrim you can cast fear spells and enchant weapons with fear-based effects that, if used, will send the enemy running away for a set amount of time. Overall, Skyrim seems to handle fear a little better than Fallout New Vegas, as when an NPC is running for their life, they don't try and retaliate immediately like Fallout NV does. And it actually seems like their one focus is to get away from you, instead of constantly trying to deliver a counterattack or something. Now let's talk about what I think should be added or fixed. First of all, NPCs need to permanently stay away from battle if they're hurt enough. Not all of them, but some of them. The ones who value life over risking death. Because not every person is going to think, well, I better heal up and attack him again. No, if anything, attacking the protagonist again after already being beaten to a pulp should be on the minority. A good excuse, though, are of course the druggies, which are often insane, so yes, they'll do stupid shit like that, because a good number of them have no real sense of self-preservation, and probably won't even heal. They just fight until death if they aren't too far gone already in the head. Second, faction reputation for some reason plays no role for fear. If you're hated or shunned by any faction in Fallout New Vegas, you won't hear anyone from that faction saying that they are scared of you, nor will you see any signs of it. For example, if you're hated by the NCR and you walk onto NCR territory, none of them react to your presence in any fearful way. Instead, they just shun you for being there out of just being purely disgusted by you, and the same applies for any other faction in New Vegas. If you were known to kill someone that is part of that faction, wouldn't some people make an effort to stay away from you or avoid contact to the best of their ability? Instead, even though they're well aware that you killed one of their own, they'll still say to you, "You eyeballing me?" As if they aren't much aware of what you've done in the past. NCR soldiers being afraid of you will be on the minority, no doubt. They are the military after all. But even the unarmed New Vegas Strip treats you like this if you're disliked, no matter what caused you to be disliked. Aside from that, if you're known across a place like the Mojave Desert as a serial killer or just some kind of dangerous person that's a force to be reckoned with, people should be afraid of you in mass amounts, no matter the faction or affiliation or reputation or anything. Even if you're idolized by them, some will always second guess you and keep their distance or treat you with some serious respect if you engage in conversation with them. If they know you're dangerous, they'll want to keep on their tiptoes and not piss you off. Now, as mentioned before, this has to be a choice by the player. Do not make the player a feared entity right off the start of the game, because some players don't want to be feared. They'd rather solve their problems through talking rather than violence, and thus gaining a reputation that isn't feared by many at all. As such, the player must earn his or her reputation through their actions, the way they deal with every situation that they're faced with, and everything will be reflected accordingly. Same applies for Skyrim if it actually had a faction reputation to begin with, in the fucking first place. I mean, it kinda does if you progress through the main storyline, but there's no indication that really tells you if you're liked by any specific faction or hated by whatever, so no. Speaking of Skyrim, why don't your fear spells work on guards? I mean, that's kind of fucking stupid. I mean, I get it. If the player just scares off all the guards, then there won't be any authority in town. Thus, there's no challenge, or very little challenge for the player at that moment, but that's no reason to apply another fucking restriction to the player. No matter your level or how powerful you get, you can't make them fear you with these spells, and it's fucking bullshit. You should be able to make anything fear you, whether it's a guard, or a king, or a commander, or whatever. Anything should be able to fear you if you meet the level requirements, or whatever is needed. Back to FNV. Terrifying Presence dialogue choices are not implemented correctly in Fallout New Vegas. They just walk backwards and shoot you rather than putting all of their efforts into running away, and because of their lack of effort, they will be killed regardless. None of the NPCs acknowledge anything that you're wearing. So if you walk into a bandit camp where they have nothing but knives to attack you with, and you have a heavy suit of power armor and a minigun, they still attack you. They still attempt to stab you, and if they get hurt, they'll heal up and come back. What the fuck? You are attempting to stab metal. Even if you don't have a reputation for killing anything or doing anything dangerous at all, if you walk into town or a civilization or anything of that nature wearing power armor and a minigun equipped, Daedric armor and Daedric swords being the near equivalent for Skyrim, or would it be Daedric bow? I don't know, fuck off. The point is, if you show up in any civilized area all armored up and scary looking with a big ass gun or a sword or whatever, then most of everybody will run away. Unless you're strictly known for being a good person and people know it's you under that power armor helmet or whatever, people will run away from wherever they were and avoid you at all costs, even if it means leaving town completely. Again, not everyone will do that. Some might not give a flying fuck what anybody's wearing and stay and protect their families or something, and then, of course, the psychopaths or any other reason why NPCs would stay. I don't know all the reasons, I'm just giving a few examples. That should be left to the game developers. Fear must play a bigger role in gaming. To be able to create and develop a character that is feared by everyone he comes across, people running away with every step that he makes towards them. That's fear. While also being able to create and develop a character that has the opposite effect, welcomed by the community that they're walking into, because of their deeds of doing otherwise, deeds that don't make them fear you. Not by their perception, anyway. In the end, if fear was handled properly in gaming, I think it would really help a lot with the immersion, and help the NPCs feel more like real people. They're actually organic, they're living things, you know, they're all around you, they're walking around, they're running away, you know? It helps to make them feel organic, and that's something that both games fall short on. Hell, gaming in general, and it needs to change. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Please leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on this topic or anything else related. Follow me on Twitter if you want to keep updated on when these videos are coming out. And that's about it, guys. The Chaotic Innovator, out.